Today we will be interviewing Karen Durant, who is working on her master's project at Boise State University. She is a certified elementary education teacher and works as a vision therapist. Karen, what are you trying to accomplish with this video?
My goal is to combine my two passions, vision and reading. I want to inform educators about vision disorders in order to create an awareness of how vision really can affect learning and give them some ideas of how to help children who struggle with visual issues. As a vision therapist and educator, I have seen how helping students can change their worlds. They become more confident, they gain control over their visual system, and because of this, their education benefits. Just the other day I was talking to one of my patients, and she was telling me that she got straight A's on her report card, and how that wasn't even a possibility before vision training.
So Karen, why is it important for teachers to understand how vision impacts learning?
Well, according to the American Optometric Association, learning problems are a public health issue of widening significance. These learning problems can decrease the quality of life for the affected individual and delay academic achievement. Since it's been shown that a teacher is frequently the best observer for identifying vision problems that interfere with schoolwork, I feel it is important to give teachers the tools needed to help students succeed. Also, for some of my coursework, I read a book entitled Lenses on Reading by Tracy and Morrow. This book suggests that the more viewpoints or lenses through which individuals are able to see the world, the more flexible they can be when responding to others. So, as a teacher learns about vision, then they're able to be more flexible when teaching their students.
Tell us a little more about this book.
Discussed in this book is the cognitive processing lens, which describes how people think and, more importantly, how they read. Within this theory, there are many models about how the brain takes incoming information and processes it for understanding. One of these models, by Keith Stanovich, in his phonological core variable difference model, discusses some consequences of learning disabilities in the acquisition of literacy. He states that if a child is having a hard time learning how to read, then they tend to be exposed to less text, which leads to fewer opportunities for vocabulary development, and less time is spent practicing reading. Because of these issues, motivation becomes a problem, and the student will read less, which creates a greater discrepancy between non-readers and readers.
You make it sound like the individuals are giving up on reading.
Not necessarily giving up, but there does tend to be some avoidance going on. I know for me, when something is hard and I don't feel like I can succeed, I tend to avoid those unnecessary tasks. Imagine not being able to complete a task on time, or being easily distracted, or working hard on, let's say, a homework assignment, and still getting a poor grade. I wonder if you have ever had a student who mysteriously began falling behind in school, or maybe a student who felt they were too dumb to learn. As educated teachers, we need to be flexible in finding answers to why a student struggles and being open to ideas to help them succeed.
I would like to hear more about these cognitive processing models.
Cognitive, defined by dictionary.com, says it is the mental processes of perception, memory, judgment, and reasoning. The cognitive processing framework attempts to explain the internal workings of the mind as individuals engage in these complex mental activities. Within the reading process, the goal is to understand how complex tasks in general are learned and mastered using the same mechanisms. While studying the cognitive processing models, I noticed that one of the very first things each of them has in common is visual input. The Atkinson and Shiffrin's information processing theory depicts information moving through different stages as it's processed, pondered, learned, saved, and then retrieved. Perception, or what we see, hear, or perceive, happens in the sensory memory stage. Gau's model depicts the cognitive processing of information as proceeding from lower order to higher order stages. The first stage is the visual system, and the last is TPWSWTAU. I love this because it means the place where sentences go when they are understood. Rumelhart's model takes both bottom-up and top-down linear models and combines them to create an interactive model. In this model, the reading process is still initiated by visual text input. However, He believes that a variety of processors are working simultaneously rather than just moving in one direction. This allows for higher level and lower level processes to simultaneously interact on the visual input.
You mentioned that vision was the first input on all of the models. So what happens when a child struggles with vision?
According to PAVE, Parents Active for Vision Education, nearly 80% of what a child perceives, comprehends, and remembers depends on the efficiency of the visual system. So, if the visual system is not functioning properly, then it's going to affect their learning.
Are there some video clips available that might help us understand some of the struggles that students are having in school?
But I think the biggest thing was in 5th grade when I noticed that like all my other friends that were in the advanced classes with me got like 100% on their spelling test, and it was like no big deal. And I was getting like 40s and 50s, and I would go home and like practice them and study them, and I just could not get them. And I think that was when I noticed, like, for the first time that, like, wow, this is different. Why am I so bad at this? And I didn't really know why.
Visual disorders are often referred to as the hidden disability because we cannot see how a child sees. Yet, according to the College of Optometrists and Vision Development, 1 out of 10 students has a vision problem significant enough to impact learning. These children rarely report symptoms, though. They think everyone sees the same as they do. Vision is often thought of as just 20/20, but it is so much more than that. When going to an optometrist, a Snellen eye chart is used to check for acuity and sharpness of vision. This chart allows the doctor to prescribe glasses if needed. Unfortunately, this test only measures one eye at a time, at a distance of 20 feet away. Since it measures monocularly, it gives no information as to how much effort is needed to see clearly, whether both eyes are working together, or how much meaning is obtained from the visual input.
What does this have to do with reading?
Well, when a person is reading, eye movement skills are essential. They must be automatic and accurate, especially when we must think and use our eyes simultaneously. While the visual system is gathering information from reading, we use what is sometimes referred to as tracking eye movements, namely fixation, pursuits, and saccades. Fixation is the point where your eyes come to rest on a word or words as you read. Faster readers have fewer fixations because they take in more words per fixation. Let's look at this sentence. A slow reader is likely to have 6 to 9 fixations on this one sentence, where a faster reader can read the sentence in 2 or 3 fixations. The faster reader will have better comprehension because she is reading phrase by phrase, which conveys more meaning. Saccades happen while reading when the eyes make short, rapid movements between the fixations. Pursuits, while not normally connected to reading a book, happen when following an image or an object such as scrolling text. Keith Rayner, in his research article, Eye Movements in Reading and Information Processing, 20 Years of Research, states that basic eye movements reflect moment-to-moment cognitive processing in various tasks.
So how do children with vision problems see?
In this section of the video, I will try to show you how some children or people see, so you can understand some of the struggles that your students might be having. This slide shows how a child sees the page when they have trouble making images clear. Ocular motor dysfunction is present when a child cannot shift their eyes from one point to another accurately for reading and tracking. The highlighted text is where the eyes are actually looking. How easy can you read this text, which has the words all over the page and in different order? Would you enjoy reading, or doing homework, or sitting still if the page looked like this? This shows what happens when eyes are not teamed together and are looking in different places. The words split or double. This page shows what letter reversals could look like to a child. Just because it looks this way one time doesn't mean it will look the same way the next time. As you can see, the letters take on different meanings when they are turned differently. When someone has a problem with what we call tracking, letters can look like this. Put tracking and reversal problems together, and this is what you get. A child can't learn to read when the words get jumbled up on the page, and he or she can't remember or make sense of what was just read. Fixation, saccades, and pursuits all fall under the visual category of ocular motor. According to Dr. Scott Lewis from Focus Vision Therapy Center, who is a board-certified behavioral optometrist. Difficulties with oculomotor control result in a condition known as oculomotor dysfunction. This condition can result in loss of place, skipping and omitting words when reading, and increased difficulty when copying from the chalkboard. In addition, poor eye movements will make it difficult for a student to perform up to their full potential in sports and general movement activity.
What are some of the most common things that educators can look for in the classroom to determine whether a student might have a reading problem or a visual issue?
Some of the most common visual signs to look for in the classroom would include skipping lines, rereading lines, poor reading comprehension, tasks taking much longer than it should, reversing letters like B and D when reading, and short attention span with reading and schoolwork.
Looking back, I know that it was because I would see letters in different order, which is why I couldn't. Like every time I looked at a word, I would see the letters in a different order. I would only look at the first letter and the last letters. And so I would never actually see the whole word, which is why I couldn't spell.
These symptoms can appear similar to attention deficit disorder. This chart from Patricia Lemur shows how ADHD and visual problems can be similar, often leading to misdiagnosis. As can be seen by this chart, 15 out of the 18 symptoms of ADHD are also present with a vision problem. Unless you know this, you can see how easy it is to misdiagnose a child. Several different visual areas affecting reading have been talked about in this presentation, but there are at least 17 more areas that can be checked that involve visual skills for reading, learning, sports, and life. Testing for these areas can be performed by an optometrist, but they must be specified as a comprehensive eye exam. If problems are noted, the optometrist can refer the patient to a behavioral optometrist who will do all the tests necessary in order to gain a complete picture of what a patient is seeing and how they interact with their world.
What is a behavioral optometrist?
A behavioral optometrist considers your vision in relation to your visual demands, such as reading, computers, and learning to read and write, and sports to ensure your vision is working easily and comfortably. Behavioral optometry improves vision by using eye exercises and lenses in ways which depart from conventional optometry.
What can teachers do to help a child who is struggling in their classroom?
The most important thing you can do as a teacher is to be informed and know the symptoms. Here is a checklist identifying many of the observable clues and symptoms that are often observed in a child with a vision problem. Once you understand the symptoms, you can be a greater advocate for your students. There are also activities that can be done in the classroom to improve visual performance. Vision is a learned skill, just like learning to talk or walk. Unfortunately, games that encourage the development of good visual skills have been replaced by passive activities. The students in your classroom need to be active and moving. A great resource for visual games is iCanLearn.com. Feel free to check this website out and incorporate these skills into your classroom. Parent communication is also invaluable. The final thing is to be an advocate for comprehensive eye exams. These will not only benefit your student, but your school as well.
Karen, you have talked about a comprehensive eye exam. Exactly what is a comprehensive eye exam?
Along with checking visual acuity, a comprehensive eye exam will check eye focusing and eye teaming, eye tracking, convergence, motility ranges, visual field testing, fusion, and more. If the doctor notices something amiss, he can refer the patient to a specialist, such as a behavioral optometrist.
Sometimes people think students with learning problems are just lazy. Do you agree?
These students who are struggling are not lazy. They are often working harder than any other student in the classroom.
So what changes have you seen because of vision therapy on students who are struggling in the classroom?
If a student is referred to a behavioral optometrist and vision therapy is prescribed, it is amazing to watch that student change. My son was referred to Dr. Scott Lewis to be evaluated and was told he had a textbook case of convergence insufficiency, which meant he could not team his eyes together and use them efficiently. He was failing in school and didn't want anything to do with learning. We had him tested for ADHD, but since he could sit for hours playing with blocks I knew that was not the problem. As the doctor told my son of this condition and what it entailed, I watched his self-esteem instantly rise as he realized he had a reason why he couldn't do the same things as the other students, and that he wasn't stupid like his teachers had told him he was.
Karen, as we conclude today, do you have any parting words to share with our educators?
I would like to share the folktale about the frog in the well. There was a frog that lived in a small, deep well. His well and the sky he could see above it were his entire universe. One day, he met a bird who lived in the world above. "Why don't you come down and play with me? It's fun down here," the frog said. "What's down there?" the bird asked. "Everything, you name it. The streams, the undercurrent, the stars, the moon." The bird on the land sighed, "My friend, you live in a confined world. You haven't seen what's out here in the bigger world." The frog didn't like that answer and didn't believe him. But the bird knew how much there was for the frog on the outside of his well, so he swooped down and brought the frog out. The frog was in awe at how beautiful the world was and how many beautiful things there were to see. He thanked the bird profusely for bringing him out of his well and never tried to go back there again. Much like the frog in the well, your students who are struggling with reading could be struggling with a visual disorder, making it so they can't see the whole picture. You could be the key to getting them out of their well by pointing them in the right direction to get them the help they need to succeed.